Good morning and welcome back to another episode of SoFlo Morning News. I am your host, Atticus Ramirez, along with
Steven and Jose.
Today is Thursday, October the 10th, and now it is time for our pledges.
Now it's time for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now it's time for the Texas Pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Now it's time for the OWL Pledge. I will succeed in school with wisdom and with knowledge. I'll give 100%. I will go to college. I'll do whatever it takes, just like my parents do. I'll sweat the small stuff, just like my teachers do. I'll give no excuses each and every day. I'll close the achievement gap, working hard in every way. With my team and family, I give my OWL Pledge. I will succeed in school with wisdom and knowledge. Go Owls! Hoot hoot! Now it's time for the moment of silence.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the next episode of the SoFlo Sideshow. Brought to you by me, Haley Prowlis, and yours truly, Albert Martinez. Unfortunately, he is not here right now. Sad squirrel. Next. So, fun fact of the day. In the Middle Ages, phrases like "by God's bones" were considered offensive swears. So make sure that next time you go speaking to your mama and your papa, don't say this phrase because it is bad. Next, today, everybody, we will be talking about cyclohexane. Now that seems confusing. It was to me at first, but it's pretty simple to understand. So, what is cyclohexane? Cyclohexane is a cycloalkane with a molecular formula of C6H12. So, carbon and hydrogen. 6 carbon, 12 hydrogen. So, this chemical is colorless, flammable, and, surprise, surprise, it has a detergent-like scent. So, if you smell your detergent, that is probably because this cool thingy is in there. So yes, it can be found in many cleaning products like detergent. Surprise. Next, what is a triple point? So here is a beautiful graph. This graph is very confusing. Now, let me tell you what it means. The triple point is the combination of the temperature and the pressure at which 3 different phases, also known as gas, solid, and liquid, they all coexist. So they all are together one buddy. And they are in a thermodynamic equilibrium. So thermodynamic equilibrium basically means, this equilibrium means equal or at one place. And then thermodynamic is like temperature is usually what it means. So depending on the substance, each chemical will have, or substance will have a different triple point. And the triple point is not to be confused with the critical point, because the critical point is something totally different from the triple point. So don't get it twisted. Okay, next. So how does cyclohexane reach thermodynamic equilibrium? So it does this by reaching its triple point. So we just went over thermodynamic equilibrium and the triple point. So in order to do this, it needs to do this. How crazy. So once the cyclohexane is at thermodynamic equilibrium, then the substance would have reached the point at which the solid, gas, and liquid all coexist. So it's kind of like this, except all together, because they coexist. Next, so how does the triple point affect cyclohexane? This affects this. So here's an example of cyclohexane. You can't really see it too much, but when it reaches the triple point, it affects it through the temperature. So as the liquid boils, high energy molecules leave the liquid as a gas, and then it makes the temperature decrease, and then it leaves the rest of the liquid that's in there to freeze, which is pretty cool because you got all the states of matter going at one place and it's pretty fascinating. And that is it for today, Owls. We will see you all in the classrooms. Hoot hoot!
Go.
Weather. Hello, my name is Isaac Alfaro, and today my co-host will be Crutches. So on to weather. Today is Thursday, and we are going to be talking about weather. So apparently, we're going to be having the highest of 99 degrees and the lowest 72 degrees. Now, in all honesty, I'm pretty sure it's going to be like in the hundreds because, Texas. So if anything, don't be wearing a jacket. Heat stroke is bad.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Hinojosa Report. I am your host, Nathan Hinojosa. As always, with me is my co-host,
Steven Hinojosa.
All right, let's get right into the international news. Okay, so recently, thousands of climate activists took to the streets of cities around the world this past Monday, launching a 2-week peaceful civil disobedience campaign to demand immediate action to cut carbon emissions and avert an ecological disaster. In London, police arrested 135 activists from the Extinction Rebellion group as they blocked bridges and roads in the city center and glued themselves to cars, while protesters in Berlin halted traffic at the Victory Column roundabout. Dutch police stepped in to arrest more than 100 climate change activists blocking a street in front of the country's National Museum, and there were similar protests in Austria, Spain, New Zealand, and Australia. Sorry that we blocked the road, but this is an emergency, declared placards held by activists in Amsterdam. The protests are a part of an international 2-week campaign coordinated by Extinction Rebellion, a campaign group that rose in prominence in April when it disrupted traffic in central London for 11 days. These are the latest in a string of demonstrations against climate change. Last month, millions of young people flooded onto the streets of cities around the world, inspired to take action by 16-year-old Swedish activist Greta Thunberg. Now, on to a domestic look at this story.
So, a domestic look at the story across the pond here in New York. So, tourists and workers on Wall Street were really confused this past Monday when they saw protesters some lying in a pool of fake blood, some dancing, some chanting, all to call attention to people killed by climate-related disease and disaster. Okay, the demonstrators led by protest group Extinction Rebellion were kicking off a 5-day civil disobedience planned across the city and, like Nathan said, across the world. By disrupting several landmarks in the heart of New York City's financial district, blocking traffic on Broadway, the group hoped to start building up a relatively small American movement with the kind of street muscle and influence it has quickly amassed in its birthplace in the United Kingdom. It stands as an environmental group to disrupt business as usual with mass protests and mixed doomsday mourning with sometimes joyful street theater. The demonstrations demand governments to tell the truth of the severity of climate change. The U.S. members of the Extinction Rebellion are now rising with 200 in total, and is a big move in a country where denying climate change is a really big thing, especially at a political level. Organizers say New York, with its liberal population's vulnerability to sea level rise, growing youth climate movement, and ambitious new cities and state climate legislation, is a good place to accelerate the group's push into the United States. The group will have to improve on its efforts to form coalitions with poor communities of color which have been disproportionately affected by environmental problems.
All right, everybody, thanks for your attention in today's segment. Go ahead and start thinking, what can you do to stop climate change? See you next time. Back to you, Angels.
And now it's time for some announcements. College Cup and Fall Festival. Today is the first College Cup of the year. Hope to see everybody hyped to compete for their homeroom and eventually, possibly, win the College Cup. Also, Fall Festival is today. There are going to be a lot of booths, like the Elote booth and the Haunted House booth.
No school. Scholars, there is no school tomorrow, October 11th. There's also no school October 14th on Monday to celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day.
Yearbook Club. Yearbook Club will be accepting applications for new members till October the 14th. To get an application, please go to Miss Eltawill's room in room 206. Applications will be on her door. Yearbook Club will annually meet or weekly meet on Wednesday at 4:30 to 5:30 p.m.
Sports. On October 11th, there will be 3 away volleyball games. All 3 teams will be playing at School of Science and Technology on 1450 Northeast Interstate 410. Middle school volleyball girls will play at 6. JV volleyball girls will play at 7. Varsity volleyball girls will play at 7. Go Owls!
Senior Portraits. Tomorrow on Friday is Senior Portraits. 12 to 1 p.m., scholars with last names A through J will be able to take their pictures. Scholars' name through H through M from 1 to 2 p.m. will be able to take their pictures. And from 2 to 3 p.m., scholars with last names O through Z will be able to take their pictures. Look your best.
Owl News application. The Owl News station is accepting applications for new members, grades 9 through 12. Owl News meets Wednesdays from 4:30 to 5:30 in Mr. Files' room. Scholars who are interested in applying can get an application from Mr. Taylor, Miss Reagan, Mr. Garcia, Miss Villarreal, and Miss Mendoza. Turn in your applications to Mr. Fire in room 205.
And that's all for today, folks. I'm Atticus Ramirez.
And Steven Hinojosa.
See you all in the classrooms. Hoot hoot!